Feeling anxious over conflict. I wanted to give my personal example of a brief struggle I had with anxious thoughts this week. Having posted a client struggle yesterday asking for advice on how to tackle anxiety, I wanted to share my approach to this. I have often been conflict averse. I've shied away from saying the things that I think or even the things that I need to say because of my fear around the reaction this might provoke. What might surprise some of my clients, I honestly don't like calling people out. I avoid about upsetting people, how they'd react to what I'd say, and the impact that would have on me. It can genuinely feel like the end of the world. In that moment, I'm consumed by overwhelming physical sensations. Normally my stomach's churning, I feel a bit sick, I'm unable to focus on anything else. I was a very anxious child, and the overthinking continues to this day. I remember having a cataclysmic meltdown, multiple in the same day, at the mere discussion of secondary school with my brother and sister, much to both of theirs amusement, which at the time was not funny. This week, someone was unhappy with the sustained system, and the sensations from being 8 years old returned. I felt physically sick, my stomach was in knots, my head was racing, I was walking the dog and feeling this sense of panic that was completely unrelated to what was going on, which typing it out now and speaking it through feels irrational, but in the moment was totally real. We don't rise to the level of our efforts, but we fall to the level of our systems. People will often have a similar experience and tell me how hard they are trying. And what they mean is they're working really hard to push these feelings away, to hold them at bay. They're fighting against them, wishing they weren't there. Repeated efforts over and over to do so. But you're climbing a ladder that's placed against the wrong wall here. We need to relax and not push back. People mistakenly exert effort against the invisible enemy. The harder you push, the more solid it becomes. You can't rationalize an overpowering emotion in the moment. So what the hell can you do? You can and must accept it. Allow the feelings to be there. Breathe into them. We're anxious because our body is trying to warn us of a threat. The feeling is real, even if the threat isn't. If we try to hide away or to ignore it, our body and mind will push back harder to get you to look. I'm still here, it'll say. You haven't listened to the threat I'm telling you is there, and so I'm going to remind you physically over and over until you do. Once you do look and recognise this is just an over-exaggerated physical response to a supposed threat, the seas start to calm, the physical sensations abide, and you feel better. This can take minutes or days. It might ebb and flow, but it's a skill that you can work on. You can put systems in place to help in the form of daily actions to ensure you do this faster when you're at a low point. Make it a habit rather than something you need to consciously think about in order to do it. When you're anxious or panicked, you will forget. You'll be consumed by the thoughts and feelings and not the very things that help. If your habit is to fight and resist, then you'll do that. But if every day, morning and night, you take 60 seconds to decompress, then you'll do this in your day of need. Feeling better relies on our ability to temper down the emotional reaction. When we look at problems in life we overcome, this gives us a false idea of what works. Typically, it looks like this. Stage 1, we have a tempting thought to take us off track, like sleeping in, responding to someone who's been rude to us, or eating high-calorie food. Stage 2, we assess it and rationally decide it's not in our best interest. Stage 3, we act in accordance with our rational decision, often in line with our values and or habits, and make the decision that's right for us. So here, it looks like the rational mind has overpowered the emotional one, leading people to think that to overcome anxiety, they just need to try harder, to use the rational mind and focus on how they want to feel and act, to overpower the emotional thoughts and desires that they have. And this is exactly why people fail to overcome these anxious thoughts. It's also the reason that they, and by they, I mean we, give in to temptation when it comes to food or drink, and we believe it's a lack of motivation, as if we need more of something. The reality is we need less. Less emotional thought, less certainty in the truth of thought, less certainty in the formidable nature of thought. After all, it is just a thought. Have I said the word thought enough yet? The human mind is driven by emotion, taking in subtle cues and responding automatically. This has kept and continues to keep us alive better than relying on conscious thought. The area of focus we need to work on is awareness, the ability to see what we are doing, to see that we are falling into believing these emotion-driven thoughts, falling into our old patterns of behaviour, rather than resisting and fighting and trying to overcome them, which is limited success with anxiety when it comes to feeling better, and zero success as a reliable, consistent approach, especially with food, as there will always be an emotional event coming up that you can't overcome with rational thought. Rational thinking has inconsistent success with food when it comes to people struggling to lose weight. This is why people gain weight in the first place, and they'll make emotional rather than rational decisions. Your current weight will almost certainly be an indication of how well you deal with these thoughts. We need to recognize these thoughts and to let them go. We can't let go of something we don't see that we are holding on to. In the moment of decision, we are certain enough that this is the right thing to do. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. We convince ourselves that eating is the right decision, or that trying to push thoughts away by focusing elsewhere is the right approach. In the case of food, it's common to realize almost immediately that it wasn't. When struggling with anxiety, people often don't realize how they've accidentally bound themselves to these thoughts. Eventually, these thoughts will subside and they'll feel better, and we convince ourselves that all we needed was time. Feelings of anxiousness and desire for food are all born from a desire to protect ourselves, not keep us within a healthy weight range or feeling good all the time. The secret sauce here is to recognize what we're doing and to take evasive action, not in the form of evading it, running away mentally and focusing elsewhere, or running into it, pushing it away hard, resisting and fighting and wishing that things were different, but calmly accepting, understanding that anxious thoughts and desires for food are part of life. These are just messages sent from our brain or bodies to tell us something. We can then choose how to act. Having been a coach for 12 years, this has had the biggest impact on my eating, my mental health, and my day-to-day happiness. If you found this useful, please give it a like. If you've had success overcoming your anxious thoughts or desires for food, tell me how you did it in the comments. And if you'd like more content like this, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel.